Good afternoon. My name is Shimon Myers. I'm the CEO and co-founder of an organization called Arise. Arise is the Alliance to Reinforce Israel's Security and Economy. We sit on a very unusual nexus point between the state of Israel and the non-Jewish, non-Israeli world. I'm not going to spend a lot of time right now talking about Arise, except to say that shortly after October 7th, our organization was approached by the Forum of the Families of Hostages in Israel and asked to be their voice to the non-Jewish, non-Israeli global community. From there, we began delegations, starting in Geneva, because that is where the issue of human rights, as we know it today, was really started and founded. And we were able to facilitate the first meetings between the president of the Red Cross and also the High Commissioner to the United Nations, who, as we all know, have failed Israel and failed the families of hostages greatly. But we've been deeply engaged with that work, and from there traveled around the world. Today, I'm here with some very, very, very special people. And, you know, the story of Israel, as we know, is a story that spans millennia, right? And all of us in this room are a continuum of that story, I believe. And it is a story of miracles, and it is a story of tragedy throughout. And this is no different here today. And it is a story of resilience and the celebration of life. So this panel today with some friends, some of whom have traveled around the world with us. There are many, many facets and layers to each one's story here. We do not have time, unfortunately, today to tell every story in entirety. I have asked each panelist if they would be willing, though, for those of you that have organizations, that have podcasts, and I know media outlets of all kinds, if they would be willing, if invited, to share their entire stories with some of you. So please do approach myself, approach the panelists if the opportunity is there, so that you can hear their stories in full. I do want to start today with Ophir. And Ophir was at the Nova Festival. Ophir is she's Israeli and resides here in Dallas, Texas, and is a realtor. So Ophir, how does an Israeli realtor living in Dallas, Texas, end up at the Nova Festival on October 7th?
That's a good question. Hi, everybody. So, as you mentioned, I live here in Dallas. Been here for 11 years, but I still love Israel, and I love to visit Israel. So I visited before October 7, and I didn't get to have so much time with my very good friends here. So I promised her that next time when I come to Israel, we're going to have the whole weekend together, just the two of us. So, never been to a nature music festival in my life. This is my very first one. But that was her weekend off, so we could be together, and we just ended up going to this festival. The goal was just to have good quality time with my best friends here.
Thank you. And I know from talking with you that, you were, of course, just celebrating the festival. I know that in Israel, those of you that are Israeli or have spent some significant time in Israel know that we don't get started until the middle of the night in Israel often. And I know that sort of the party and the festival was just getting started in the middle of the night, and then at 6:29, everything changed. And I do want to really focus today. I know that in your story, many, many, many things happen. And it's a story of a very, very long day for you, I know. And over the course of that day, I know that it was miracle after miracle after miracle, more miracles than we have time again to talk about today. But could you take us through maybe the immediate events leading up to getting in the car, and then just take us through some of those miracles?
Right. So to begin with, we were trying to hide. So we were all driving towards Be'eri. That was the closest village, kibbutz. But as we got to Be'eri, Israel is the people of Israel are amazing in a way that they will just risk their own life to help others. And that's exactly what happened many times throughout this day. But when we when we got to Be'eri, we saw everybody is doing a U-turn, and we didn't understand why. So we opened the window, and people were actually, they were standing there, risking their own life, warning us that there are terrorists. They were saying, terrorists are here. And we did a U-turn, and we drove all the way back towards Reim. But thank God, we could just drive in, not knowing that there are so many terrorists inside Be'eri and a massacre happening.
And I think we know now what happened, of course, those of us in the audience at Be'eri, unfortunately. And then from there, you went on to Reim, correct?
Right.
And what happened there?
So we're driving to Reim, and on the way, we actually saw the terrorists. They were coming out of their cars and just starting shooting everybody on auto. Shir got superwoman powers out of nowhere. I have no idea how she did it, but she got us out of there driving like crazy in a road that you can barely drive with all the cars and the terrorists. So somehow Shir was able to get us out of there. That's the second big miracle we had that day. And not even one bullet hit our car.
That's amazing. Thank God.
Then we get to Reim, and we try to get in. But the gate, it was closed. We've been there for maybe 3 minutes waiting for someone to open the gate, but we couldn't get in. Thank God.
And we know that, again, for those of you that don't know Reim, unfortunately, there was a massacre taking place behind those gates that
Right.
Ophir and Shir were unable to get through, even though they were trying. So tell me about your cousin. I know your
Yeah.
cousin ended
So-
up helping you.
My amazing cousin, she's very smart and an amazing person. She was with me on the line the whole time, from the very beginning. So she asked me to share my WhatsApp live location with her, so she could actually see where I was driving and how it looked like the whole time.
Where was she, by the way? Where was she located?
She was in Tel Aviv, yeah. And she actually realized that we're basically driving back and forth on the same one main road, and we're getting nowhere. So at this point, that's when everybody just got out of their car and started running. And the terrorists were shooting everybody while they were running. But Adi, my cousin, she was smart enough to find a side road that's off. It's actually an off-road. And she navigated us towards another village named Shokeda. So she's navigating us, and we got to Shokeda. We stayed there for about 11 hours. And eventually, Shokeda and one more village were the only two out of all the villages in the area, all the cities, that not even one terrorist walked into.
That's amazing.
And just so you understand, Shokeda is 2 minutes away from Be'eri. If you stand on the roof, you can see everything that's happening.
And I know there are many reasons that Shokeda didn't experience the same thing, including rescue by 669 and a number of different things that we're not going to, again, get into today. You know, one of the things that isn't foreign to those of us that are familiar with the story of Israel in the Bible and historically and traditionally in the Jewish people is there have been many, many miracles involving fuel not running out, oil, right? We're all familiar with those stories. And you have a very similar story from that day. Could you share that with us as well?
Yes. So when we drove towards the festival, we had 30 minutes left. And we actually met at the gas station. And she suggested, let's put some gas. We only have a quarter of a tank. So I told her, nah, we don't need to. It's okay, we can take care of it later. And she got insist. She said, no, let's put some gas. I really like to drive with a full tank of gas. And I told her, no, it's okay. We can just take care of it later. So we're driving 30 minutes to the festival, 1 hour in between terrorists and rockets in the morning, and then 5 hours all the way to the north of the country. As soon as we got to her house, that's when the gas light turned on.
I'll take it. One of the things I'm realizing as I've gotten to know you a little bit and learning your story is that you should listen to Shir very often.
Of course.
So before we move on and talk with Liel, you know, you're amongst a group of friends and people that love you and love Israel and are motivated by this cause. If they're here in this room today, they are motivated by this cause. And I just want to give you the opportunity to share anything on your heart for what you would really like to impart to this audience today.
I believe just love, believe, and be united. That's it.
Love, believe, and be united. Okay. I like it. Thank you. Liel. So thank you so much, Liel, for joining us. And I know this is probably challenging to try to fit because there are so many facets to your story. I know you have a lot of family in Israel that was deeply involved with October 7th and what's taken place over the course of the last year. I can't even begin to imagine the roller coaster that you've been on personally and your family since this started. I really just want to open up to you to share. I know there's great tragedy and there's resilience and there's hostage release and so many things. I just want to open it up to you to share whatever you feel is most pertinent in that story.
Thank you very much. I grew up in Fort Worth. I live in Dallas now. I'm a lawyer here, but my family goes back 2,000 years in Israel. They're the Kohanim, the high priests who never left Israel. And my mother moved here when she was in her 20s, met my father, an American. I remember going to her American swearing-in ceremony, became a citizen. But she has a lot of family over there. She's the only one who doesn't live in Israel. And you just heard about Kibbutz Be'eri. My mom's cousin lived in Kibbutz Be'eri. And her son, one of her two sons, and his wife, Alon and Yarden, and their daughter Geffen, and then her other daughter Carmel were visiting for the holiday. And they came back to their parents' house. They spent the night there, and they woke up to the massacre of October 7th. And it has been a whirlwind in light. There was tragedy that day, but it's been continuing this entire year. That day, Carmel was taken out of the house, and she disappeared. Alon and Yarden and Geffen were taken out and put into a car. And when that car stopped at one point because it encountered an Israeli tank, Yarden turned to her husband and said, "We have to run." And they made a break for it with their 3-year-old daughter in their arms. Yarden turned to her husband and said, "I can't carry her. Take her and get her to safety. Keep my baby safe. And he took off and hid with her in a ditch for 12 hours and made it back, thank God, to the kibbutz alive. Talk about miracles. They didn't find Yarden, and they later learned she'd been taken hostage into Gaza, but another miracle, she was released in November in the hostage deal. And Kinneret was taken out of the street and shot right in front of her house. And it was a difficult time then, but we kept holding out hope that Carmel would return. We learned she'd been taken to Gaza. And the whole last year, we'd been fighting for her return. I'd been speaking at events to return the hostages. And just a few weeks ago, the IDF found her body in a tunnel in Rafah. She's one of the 6 Israelis recovered. She'd been there for a year. We'd learned from some other hostages who were kept with her teenagers that she did yoga with them in the tunnels and helped them meditate, and they called her their guardian angel for keeping them so grounded. But the most amazing thing of all of this, it's been, you said, a roller coaster, up and down. It's just a few weeks ago, there was a picture release that we'd had for a while, a short video, but this still is making its way on social media, of Kinneret. And I encourage all of you, go to the State of Israel's Instagram page, go about a week back. You can't miss it. It's the last images we have of Kinneret. The terrorists were videotaping her, leading her to her death, taunting her. And she stuck out her tongue at them. And if that isn't Kinneret, and if that isn't every Israeli saying, you will not win, we are not Jews with trembling knees, to quote Menachem Begin, we will not go without a fight, we will be strong, and we will prevail, and we will win.
Is there anything else you want to leave us with? That was a lot. And thank you so much for sharing that.
I just want to say how much I appreciate all of you here today. Having your support and your allyship, especially to the non-Jews in this room, means more than you can know. We are such a small portion of the population here. And we desperately need your support, because this isn't just Jews and Israel versus Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran. This is evil versus good. This is them versus the West and everything we stand for and hold dear. So please keep supporting us and standing with us, and thank you so much for putting this event on and for staying with us.
Thank you. You know, you've heard it said that Israel is a country that was meant to save the Jews. But I really think in today's world, it's becoming more and more apparent that perhaps Israel is a country that is meant to save the world. And you all have a very significant role to play in that. We all do. Doris, my friend, my second mom, I feel like, the quintessential Israeli mom. Again, I wish we had time for you to share your entire story. And I feel like, even though I've never met Guy, I feel like I know him through you. I also know that you're prepared to share some miracles with us today as well. So I just want to give you the floor and share with us whatever's on your heart to share.
Okay, so I'll just start with the short story of what happened so you get the story. Guy was at the Nova Festival and was kidnapped. He was actually shot at while trying to run away. He was found under one of the trees, and they asked him to turn around, go on your knees, and they shot him twice in his back. He found himself in a hospital in Gaza, and a week later, an angel appeared in the name of Maya Regev, which is also a kidnapped that returned, and they spent 2 days together, a day and a half. So that's the story. She came back and she told the story. I actually knew that he's not alive 55 days after the 7th of October. But he actually died only a week after. So that's the story. But I want to put the light on the miracles that I'm experiencing throughout. First thing is that even before this whole thing happened, it was the holidays. I wasn't in the country, and it's like the first time we didn't do the holidays together. Yom Kippur is a big thing in Israel. We always did that together. It was the first time we didn't. And I really missed him, and he really missed me. And the miracle, maybe small, but when he comes home, he usually gives me a kiss on the cheek. This time, it was a long hug, and he said, "Mommy, I love you." Simple as that. It didn't happen before. He's like a macho kind of guy. But it was a long hug. So that is a miracle, because that is a hug that I got from him before. And the second miracle is, of course, Maya Regev. They talked a lot. They were very happy, and, Guy didn't see anybody for a week, and they were both in such a bad... The last conversation before he died was about me. And he told her that his mother is a lion, and she looks like a lion. And he said that he's going to get back, and he's never going to leave me. And he never did. He's with me. That is a miracle. And that is a miracle that is ongoing. And I can tell you that when we are together with his friends, survivors of the Nova, most of them, and the ones that are missing, there are a few friends missing, dead. But when we come together, we can feel his spirit. We do. We can even hear his voice. We sing together, and like this best friend of his, he said, "Did you hear him?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard him." And it's like everybody's hearing him when we sing. So this happens on a daily basis, really, and so that's kind of a blessing. Yeah.
Thank you so much. One of the profound things about the Jewish people and Israelis, and I feel like it's something that's so close to just nature and the natural world, is the commitment to life in the face of great adversity. And, I feel like I'm sitting amongst more than one lioness here this afternoon. As a father to 3 girls, you're very inspiring to me, and I hope to all of us here, for setting a roadmap for what things can look like, even in the face of great adversity. Doris, before we're winding down here, but you had shared something with me last night that I really love about this studio. I know that Guy I love the story because it really is indicative of life in Israel that Guy had set up a studio when he was 15 years old. Guy was a musician, and I think a sound engineer and many, many things. Very, very gifted. And at the age of 15, set up a recording studio in a miklat, as we say in Hebrew, which is a bomb shelter. And if that isn't a picture of the celebration of life in the face of adversity, I don't know what is. But can you please share what you're doing today to carry that on?
So like I said before, when we sing together, we hear not only Guy, we hear Almog, that was also from the 6th. He was one of Guy's best friends. And we want to have, basically these shelters, when there's war, they had to evacuate all the equipment like in seconds. So that's not going to work now because all the shelters are occupied, unfortunately. So we're going to build a recording studio, which will be kind of a club for kids that are over the age of 20. And that'll give them a chance, first of all, to connect, to be together, and to play music together. And I've seen this as a fact, that the survivors, Guy's friends, when they're together, when they're playing, when we are singing, we can feel it. We can feel, and this is not a memorial thing. This is continuing the life with the spirits and with our friends together with us. So this is a very important project for us. And I welcome you to come when it's done. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I leave you with this thought, which I think everyone is probably familiar with this quote by Ben Gurion, who said, "In order to be a realist in Israel, one must believe in miracles." And I think we've had a little taste of that here this afternoon. And I just want to say thank you so much, Ophir, Liel, Doris. You know, these are not people that this was ever a goal of theirs, to be on this stage doing this. And each one of them has taken time out of their life to come and share this with all of you. So could we show them some love?